It's just about being more intentional, really, with your time. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I take time to do this, and then maybe not spend time on the things that don't serve you and that don't fill you up and don't, recharge your battery. Are you lacking in the self-care department? Or maybe you just want to step up your game. Well, then you need to get a hold of the weekly self-care planning guide, because this will help you to plan out and prioritize self-care, because self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. You can get yours by going to holisticmamaspeaks.com/self-care. That's holisticmamaspeaks.com/self-care. Oh, and did I mention the self-care planning guide is absolutely free? That's $0. So be sure to get yours at holisticmamaspeaks.com/self-care. Hello and welcome back to Holistic Mama Speaks, the podcast, Season 2. I am your host, Carrie Marie Vaughn, and I'm just so excited to continue our journey together towards holistic living, wellness, and abundance. Wow. In Season 2, we are just going to be diving deeper into a variety of different topics related to natural health, mindful living, wealth and abundance, and even conscious parenting. I'm just so excited. And I will be featuring expert guests who will share their knowledge and experience with us. So many amazing people, some returning guests from Season 1 and some new guests. I will also be answering listener questions and addressing some common concerns related to holistic living. And you can actually submit your questions by going to holisticmamaspeaks.com/ask. ASK. My goal is to provide you with practical tips and inspiration that you can incorporate into your own life. Whether you are a seasoned holistic living enthusiast like some people, or if you are just starting out on this journey, there is just something for everyone along the way. So I'm just happy to have you here in the Season 2 of Holistic Mama Speaks. And just as a side note, by listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this as medical advice or to treat a medical condition. You can visit holisticmamaspeaks.com to find the full disclaimer. So sit back, relax, and let's explore a world of holistic living and abundance together. Are you a mom who's struggling to balance taking care of loved ones while also taking care of yourself? It's a very common challenge, but there is actually a simple solution: daily affirmations. In Mom Mantras, the daily affirmation guide for mothers of all kinds, you'll find powerful affirmations and mantras that will help you improve your health, happiness, and mindset. Whether you are a biological mom, an adoptive mom, a stepmom, a pet mom, a motherly figure, this book is for you. Read these mantras in the morning, before bed, really anytime throughout the day to uplift your spirits and to stay focused on what matters most. Visit mommantras.com to get your own copy and to start living a more intentional, purposeful life. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is Carrie Marie and I'm your host. I am so excited today because we are going to be talking about nurturing wellness and faith, staying active and connected during the holidays. And I have two lovely ladies joining me today. I have Shelly and Kristina, and I'm just so blessed to have you both here today. And I'm actually going to allow the two of you to introduce yourselves and let the listeners learn a little bit about you and what you do. So Shelly, I will turn the mic over to you.
Thanks. It's nice to be here. I'm Shelly. I'm a nutrition mindset coach and dietitian. I help women with a lot going on to develop a healthy and a joyful relationship with their food. And I do this because I started, I think like a lot of the people on your podcast that have been interviewed, I started in traditional like medical system, healthcare, realized that that wasn't quite what I wanted to do because it was really focused on you could choose health or you could choose your life or like doing the things that you wanted to do. And I didn't like that dichotomy. I don't think it's a real one. I think you can be healthy and enjoy your life and be healthy so that you can enjoy your life. So it doesn't take over or anything like that. So I started looking into things like intuitive eating and the health at every size model and really grew my practice, private practice from that point and in that direction. So it's much more life-giving and balanced and looking at the whole person rather than just a bunch of rules.
That's awesome. Oh, completely agree with that. And it's, you're such a blessing to many. I am very sure. So awesome. Well, Kristina, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you. My name is Kristina Bagnoli. I'm founder and CEO of Rising Phoenix Family Therapy. I launched my private practice earlier this year with the goal of being able to help my clients essentially reach their wellness needs through a variety of opportunities. So one thing I noticed in the mental health industry, which I'm kind of piggybacking here, is that it's definitely lacking in resources and support. And through my own physical health issues, I realized that it can be very daunting to have to wait and see what happens and worry about how long it takes to get in with a practitioner, excuse me. So I wanted to be able to streamline that service a little bit and have a number of specialties under one roof. So I am a marriage and family therapist as a career, and I have started this private practice where I will be adding on individuals in other specialties such as nutrition and physical health. We're looking into getting a yoga instructor and possibly some physical therapy involved as well. So when my clients walk in through the door, they can not only meet with me, but also a nutritionist to help them with their nutritional and dietetic needs, as well as working on mobility.
Wow, that's so cool. Very, very awesome and very much needed. And I agree with both of you ladies that, I had some medical things in the past, and it was so frustrating that I knew that there was something going on in my body and I wasn't getting help from the doctors. And they were very quick to be like, oh, this is what you have, and here is a medication for it. And I was and for me personally, what I had gone through was I had gone through a year and a half of being extremely in pain in my stomach, going to the bathroom all the time, which is extremely frustrating, especially when your kids are little and you love camping and hiking. It made it almost impossible to enjoy my time. The family would go off and do stuff, and I would be sitting there near the toilet. So no fun at all. My doctor wasn't helping at all that I was seeing at the time. So I finally found somebody who I could go to that actually did testing, because my doctor didn't even want to do testing, which blew my mind. Like, something's going on. So I went and got some testing, got blood work done. I was anemic, and I also had ulcerative colitis. So I was like, okay, obviously there was something going on. I wasn't just making it up. And so I was told, though, that I needed to be on medication. And I was like, ulcerative colitis, like, that's in my digestive system, correct? And they were like, oh yes. And I was like, well, is there anything I can do for eating? Can I eat differently, add in different things, stop eating different things, whatever it might be? Nope, you can't control this. It's going to be something you have for the rest of your life. You're going to have to be on this medication for the rest of your life. And I was like, whoa, I don't think so. So I said no thanks to the medicine, and I did my own research. Now that I knew what I had, I was like, okay, there's got to be somebody to figure this out before. So I started doing research and figured out ways that I could start eating better, cutting out processed foods that include all of those nasty chemicals that are not good for our body, and started, just adding in extra self-care. And guess what? I started feeling better. Surprise, surprise. I didn't need the medication. And then since then, I've had other things where I've had injuries, been told that I needed surgery right away. They're quick to say you need surgery. Well, I found out how to heal myself. So I love that you ladies are like literally embodying this, and is like, you need to, get your mind, body, and soul and your wellness intact so that you can live your life and be happy and healthy. So I am really, really excited to dive into today's topic, which is very much along those lines: nurturing wellness and faith, and staying active and connected during the holidays. Because as we know, the holidays bring about lots of stress, lots of junk food, candy, and things like that. So I'd love to hear a little bit from both of you about, how you personally handle things to stay active and well during the holidays without being stressed, and tapping into your faith, and also how you're helping other people that you work with as well.
I guess I will share first. So for myself, and what I often suggest to my clients is kind of focusing on yourself as though you're looking at a battery. So I explain to them, like, consider that every day when you wake up, you're at 100% battery life. And throughout the day, you obviously lose charge based on what you're doing. And what we want to do in order to better our battery life or help it regenerate our battery life when we get tired and we're depleted is to find nurturing ways to assist with that. So that can be nutrition, that can be your mental health, that can be your physical health. As far as I personally go, I make sure that each of those aspects is taken care of on a daily basis. This morning, I went to the gym. After the gym, I came home and had a good, healthy breakfast, eggs, fruits, veggies. And my mental health today is going to be reflecting just what I'm grateful for, as it's the end of the week. So there's a lot to be thankful for as the week has progressed. And I always like to end the day with a little bit of prayer.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I really liked what you said about like thinking about it through the different parts of that recharging your battery, right? Like that's something I talk about a lot too with my clients is it not just like, because I think when people come to see me, they're often talking about the physical aspect or maybe like the scheduling part of it, like the time management and like saying no. They've heard a lot of that part of it, but they haven't really put a lot of attention to other aspects like the social or like, you know, figuring out the spiritual part of it. How does this enhance or help you through those difficult times? You know, how does this bring more meaning to the life and all the different parts, like unite all these different parts in you? I think those kinds of things are often ignored or overlooked, especially when we are very busy and, you know, holidays have a lot more obligations and things going on. So being able to put attention in some of the places that we may already be at a deficit for coming into the holidays, being a little more intentional about building those areas up and like you said, recharging your batteries in those areas or through those areas it can make it feel a little bit more like the stress may still be there, right? It just can make it feel a little bit more stable when you're going through the stress. Like maybe you have a little bit more of a balance in that. So for me personally, I've been thinking a lot about like we started this last year. How do I want the holiday season to look and feel? And then what are my goals? Like kind of the non-negotiable things, like what would I really want to include this holiday season? And what are the things that I am not going to do this holiday season if I already know? And then using those to kind of plan out, you know, what I say yes and what I say no to. That's been a really big thing. It was super helpful last year. I plan on doing it again this year because it just put so much more thought and attention and made me really grateful for the things that we did choose to do.
That's awesome. It's just about being more intentional, really, with your time. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I take time to do this, and then maybe not spend time on the things that don't serve you and that don't fill you up and don't, recharge your battery in the words that you're using. Like some things that I make sure to do, and I try to keep with a little bit of a schedule even during the holidays, as much as there are of course things that happen. There's family in town, or you're traveling, or you're having to buy gifts, or you're decorating or preparing for things. There are some extra things, but I do try to stick with some of those things, like you were saying, Shelly, some non-negotiables, and just kind of setting up some things that I want to make sure that I do that won't keep me away from being well and feeling good. And some of those are morning prayer and meditation time, and moving my body in different ways, whether it be an actual workout or going for a walk or a hike or going horseback riding or dancing or something to keep my body moving and active. But I always also like to use, deep breathing and prayer, especially during the very hectic times. That when things get a little crazy and start feeling like they're getting a little overwhelming, and I really don't like to use that word because it's like, we have control, but it's learning how to get control, right? And so I work with a lot of my clients on that, as far as just being aware. First of all, when you start getting those feelings, when you start feeling them creep in, of like getting annoyed or stressed or feeling that overwhelm, is like, okay, what can I do in this moment now that I'm aware that it's happening? What do I need to do that will make me feel better, so that I can, kind of step away from that icky feeling? And so some of that means just walking in the other room and taking some deep breaths and asking God for guidance of getting through this moment. Sometimes it's very, very simple, and it doesn't take very long, but it gives you that little boost, that little recharge that you need to get through the next little bit of time in your life. What I also I love the holidays because you can get together with people that you love, your friends or your family. And a big thing that we do in our household is games. We love playing games, whether it be physical activity type games, or if it's board games, or similar things where it's like charades or something like that. But whenever we get together, even if it's just like our small immediate family, we love having game night. It's just so much fun, and it keeps you connected. It keeps things fun and lively and lighthearted. And one more thing I'll just add to that really quick, though, is that something that I really highly encourage anyone to do, especially during the holidays, but anytime in general, and this could be a really great daily practice to put in, is to every single night before you go to bed, write down 3 wins for the day. 3 things that happened, 3 things you can celebrate, 3 things that you're proud of yourself for. It can be any kind of win. And it literally could be, I finally folded the laundry that's been sitting in the basket all week long. It doesn't have to be like something big and extravagant. Or it could be, maybe you had a phone call with somebody you hadn't talked to in a long time, and it was really great catching up. That's a win. And the cool thing about that is you fall asleep with these happy thoughts of your wins for the day. But then also is that throughout the next day, you're thinking of ways that, oh, what can I do today that will be a win? What can I do that I can write down at the end of the day that's going to be my win for the day? And so I actually learned this from a book called The Gap in the Game. If you haven't read that book, I highly encourage you reading it. It's excellent. But everybody who I encourage to do this are like, thank you so much. It's so fun to find my wins throughout the day. And I love doing it too. I have my little notebook by my bed and I write down my wins. So if that's not something you do, highly recommended. But what are some other ways then that you kind of find that you can stay connected a little bit without getting stressed out during the holidays?
Yeah, board games for sure. I'll definitely kind of add to that as well. We actually played Monopoly last night. Smoked them.
How long did it last?
Surprisingly enough, it was only maybe about an hour and a half.
Wow. That's
I just
Monopoly.
built towers too soon, and then it was, the 2 spaces right after go, and everyone just kept landing on him, and they ran out of money before they could even progress.
That's awesome.
Yes, but to answer your question, this happens a lot when I talk to my clients in therapy. A lot of them have to go home for the holidays, right? It's expected of them, and then they have to be around individuals that they may not necessarily feel comfortable with, or just don't get along well with. And we all have those family members that were like, "Hey, it's good to see you." And so one of the conversations we have is there are certain things that we can't avoid all the time. We will be placed into situations where we may feel discomfort, or just like an overall like messing with our aura sort of experience. And what can we do to make it easier for us? Because we can't necessarily nullify the experience entirely. So I always ask my clients to find coping skills that will help them. And coping skills come in a variety of facets, right? It can be anything from, like squeezy toys or fidget toys that you keep in your pocket, to knowing when it's a good time to leave the room to either take a bathroom break or to just get some fresh air outside, help in the kitchen, do something to kind of move your body and transition from a situation that may be triggering.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that is very, very true, that a lot of the times around the holidays, we get together with people that we're not always fond of, or we don't really see eye to eye about different things, but they're family or connected to family somehow. So they are there. Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think that's a really good point about like you can't always avoid it. Um, I often talk to my clients also about this. Another thing that comes up a lot is like the comments that people will make about you or, uh, in my practice, it's a lot about like body talk. And having, even as a coping skill, like being able to go through some of those potential moments or things that you are pretty sure are going to happen because of past experiences, like just having something prepared, like you were talking about coping around like an activity, but you can also use coping like, I'm going to have a couple of phrases that I can say to this person, or, depending on the kind of situation that it is, that's going to be able to help me draw my boundary around what is and isn't okay to say to me, depending on the situation or how I'd like to handle it, or to redirect or something like that. Like you were talking about, Carrie Marie, like there are certain things within our power to do, right? Where we can feel like it's not just something happening to us that, everyone else has the power to say the conversation first and then I can't do anything. We hold some power to redirect the conversation at times, right? So I think those kinds of phrases and being able to say, I'm equipped with a couple of things that I can do in those moments in case it doesn't feel like I can leave, like, if you're sitting at the table and you're all eating the meal already, it might be more awkward and more anxiety producing to leave that table in the middle of the conversation and the meal versus to be able to just have something quick to say, or, pull out that fidget toy under the table and use that.
Yeah, agreed. And I think in leading up to that time, when you know that you're going to be in these situations, if you're really, really taking good care of yourself, self-care, self-love, and you come into these situations a little bit more, first of all, at peace because you've been really taking care of yourself, but also with more confidence because you love yourself. No matter what any of these people say, no matter, what they're doing, you are strong in your beliefs about yourself and about whatever's going on. And so you're not going to get the little weird things that, maybe they're talking about politics and you don't agree with what they're saying, or maybe they're saying bad things about you, which is awful that family would do something like that. But yeah, I've heard it, like body shaming and other crazy things, or when are you going to start having kids, or when are you having your next, just weird, awkward things like that. But if you come into it like very confident, you can fizzle out those conversations, or, switch to something else a lot easier when you are more confident and just fully aware of who you are and what you stand for, what your values are. And, so I highly encourage you to tap into those and work on those leading up to these situations. Of course, it's not all going to be perfect, but when we can't control what else is happening, we can at least control us and how we react. And that's important. If we're not the ones like flying off the handle or causing issues, that's always a good thing. So, yeah. So any last words on like staying active, just kind of moving your body? Because of course, where many people live, when going into the holidays, it starts to be winter time, it starts to be cold and icky out. So, what are some ways that either you or some of your clients like to kind of keep moving and stay active?
Yeah, personally, I love the outdoors any time of the year, so it doesn't typically tend to be an issue for me as far as like cold weather goes. I know it's a big turnoff to a lot of my clients to want to be outside when it's almost sub-zero temperatures and they can feel their nose falling off. um, and we're living in an age now where we do have access to a lot of great physical tools that we can access on either YouTube or even through TikTok and Instagram. And I am definitely one of those people that has about 12 different folders full of, activities that I eventually want to try out. So I am preaching to the choir, but, access those tools, see if there's anything out there that you may interest you, even if it just means like walking up the stairs a couple times and down the stairs, or maybe doing some like squats in the living room or something like that. I'm a big advocate for movement. After living a sedentary lifestyle for a while, I realized that a lot of my physical health issues stemmed from my lack of movement. So now I, did a complete 180, and I make sure to have an aspect of movement in my life every day, no matter what. At work, which today's my day off, but if I were to be at work right now, I have a desk that raises, and I have a treadmill right underneath it. So even while I'm typing out my notes, I can add movement to my day that way.
Oh, very cool. I've thought about getting one of those. Have not tried it yet. So,
I think it's also around, I mean, we've touched on this a little bit, but it's also around expectations, right? Like, what do you expect that you count as movement or exercise? Like, what does it have to look like? Like, asking yourself those questions and seeing where does that information come from? Because a lot of times my clients and even me sometimes, like, I think, oh, I can't do XYZ because that's like a certain defined thing in my brain. But when I expand that definition a little bit more, I'm like, oh, movement is just literally moving your body. It doesn't have to be 10,000 steps or, a workout at the gym or breaking a sweat even. Like, it can be something fun. It's just moving your body. So finding things that are fun to do, again, that bring you connection. You can do it with other people. You can do it with your kids, like having that silly dance party or whatever it is. Like, there are lots of things that we can do that don't look like movement or exercise because we're so focused and we're so trained to think of it as a certain thing. But when we just remember it's moving your body, and so what can you do to move your body during the day, and what are those expectations, and how are we going to feel if we do, or if we do a certain activity versus another activity? Like, maybe one feels better today than another one does, but then the next day it's different, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be like this super disciplined thing that we do to punish ourselves or to be really strict about it or earn or make up for our food or anything like that, right? Like, it's about moving your body and enjoying that movement, or at least like getting some of those benefits of experiencing the range of motion that your body can do, right? Like, it's always different for every person. So I guess changing and loosening those expectations, especially around the holidays, but every time, can be really helpful in finding something that is a little bit more life-giving instead of this thing that we have to build our whole lives around, or a whole holiday schedule around when the gym is going to be open.
yeah, so true. And I think too, it's a lot easier to stick with something regularly if you're having fun with it rather than dread it. So many people dread going to the gym, or like, and like you were saying, just the way that you think about it, you're like, oh, exercise. I don't have time to exercise, or I don't want to exercise. I don't like exercise. They have all of these things, but instead, it just moving your body, and it can be something fun. I love how you mentioned dance party, because we love to just throw on, you can pull up on YouTube some just dance videos that are actually made for like some of the gaming consoles, but they have them on YouTube. And so you don't need to even worry about having the little game pieces. It's literally just watching it and following along with the dances. First of all, you definitely work up a sweat. So be prepared to do that. But it's so much fun. And anybody of any age can do it and have fun with it. I mean, we do it sometimes with the adults and sometimes the kids. And now my kids are older. And so, we'll even sometimes do it on a weekend or something like that. We'll just be hanging out. It doesn't have to be a full get together where everybody is getting together to do this dance party. It's literally just like, oh, what should we do tonight? Let's pop on a few dances and do it. And we also love, just going for walks, being out in nature. And yeah, it's cold out sometimes, especially in the winter time, but bundle up and just get out there, because first of all, fresh air and the scenery around you, the nature itself is just so healing, and it feels so good to be out there. So as much as it might be a shock right at first, especially if you live in areas where it gets extremely cold, make sure you're wearing your scarf, because you end up working up and getting warm on the inside the more you move your body. So like if snow, build a snowman or a snow fort or something like that. You're going to have fun in the process, and it's moving your body. And so it doesn't always have to be like that structured workout of this is what I'm going to do. I mean, yeah, if you want to do that and you love it, if yoga is your thing or if weightlifting is your thing, awesome, do it. But it doesn't mean that that has to be the only way. You can move your body in whatever way you like and have fun with it. Even if it's just like, you're like, oh, I haven't been moving much this week. It's been, I've been sitting in front of a computer or something. Maybe when you go to the grocery store, park at the back of the parking lot and walk in, or maybe take a few extra laps around the store when you're shopping, just to get like that little extra movement in. It's not the end of the world. It's not terrible. And you're not in an awful place, but you're just getting your body moving a little bit. So awesome. Well, this was such a great conversation, ladies. It has been such a pleasure having both of you on the show. And I do think that these tips that you both shared are going to be so helpful to so many people, especially in the holidays, but any time of the year, really. So thank you very much again. I hope you both have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. It has been a pleasure being with you today. I hope that you enjoyed this and got some value out of it. If you did, be sure to rate and review on wherever you're listening or watching. And also be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.